Hey there, listeners. Welcome to PTK Pulse, your one-stop shop for insights, inspiration, and everything PTK. Brought to you by Alpha Theta Omicron at Rio Salado College, we're diving deep into the world around us, one interview at a time. For our 2024 Honors in Action project, we're on a mission to connect with our community and showcase their stories. Join us as we chat with folks from all walks of life, learning about their passions and experiences. So, grab your headphones or turn up the volume, sit back, and let the stories come to you. This is PTK Pulse.
Hi, I'm Angelo Lopez, representing Phi Theta Kappa, Alpha Theta Omicron chapter. I'm here speaking with my stepfather, Pete Sagasta. And the reason why I chose my stepfather, Pete Sagasta, is because he is a Vietnam combat veteran. And I wanted him to share his experiences through the lens of being a Mexican American, as this project involves community engagement, profiling the voice of the voiceless. Hello, Pete. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Can you first tell me a little bit about where you grew up?
Yeah, I was born and raised here in Phoenix, or should we say Litchfield, in the migrant camps in Litchfield. And that's where we started life. And from there we moved to Avondale to Phoenix, and that's where it's at.
Were you drafted to Vietnam?
No, I was drafted, but I enlisted voluntarily because the draft, they throw anything at you, you know. They throw anything at you to just get you in there. But if you enlist, then you got a choice. So you made your choice. And I ended up going to aviation in the helicopters.
Can you tell me what unit you were with?
The 1st Cavalry, 1st Air Cav.
And what year did you serve?
66, 67.
I want to take the time to thank you for your service, Pete.
Thank you.
We've talked before, and I want you to kind of somewhat share your experience when you were being transported and how being Mexican American made your experience different.
Well, I want to tell you, when we ended up going in the Army, it was the first time that I ever flew in a plane. You know, we didn't know the first thing about a plane, you know. So they flew us from Phoenix to El Paso, where we were taking basic training at Fort Bliss, Texas. And when we got released after basic, a number of us from Phoenix, we rented a car together and drove back to Phoenix. We had a 10-day leave. When the leave was over, we had to go to wherever we were assigned to. I was assigned to go to Fort Rucker, Alabama. I was going into helicopter school. We flew from Phoenix to New Orleans. And there was a number of us there. There was a number of us there that never been anywhere other than home. And we were in New Orleans, and our flight going to Fort Rucker, Alabama, wouldn't leave till 9:30 in the evening. So we decided to walk into town, go get a cab and go into town and see New Orleans. Well, we didn't get very far, being that we were never in an area like New Orleans there. So we started to walk out of the airport to go get a cab, but we couldn't make it. The humidity just wasn't our way of living, you know.
Yeah.
The humidity was horrible.
Very close to sea level, right, New Orleans?
Oh God, it was just unbearable. So we were about to just collapse. So we decided to go back into the airport, and we sat there all day. Sat there all day until the flight was announced that they were loading. There was a prop job. Airplane that they put us in was a prop job, and it was smoking. There's sparks of fire just coming out. And we were just ready to start asking for toilet paper. You know?
Could I ask you a quick question, Pete?
Sure.
So the reason why you're saying you weren't able to catch a cab, is that right?
Right.
They wouldn't take you anywhere because of...
No, we never even got to ask for a cab because, you know, the humidity was just unbearable. And by the time we started to walk out there, we were ready to just collapse. You know, we just didn't live in that kind of atmosphere. So we got to Fort Rucker, Alabama, pretty late at night. I guess it's probably about 10:30 or so. And of course, everything's closed. Little small place, Dalton, Alabama. And you know, we couldn't go anywhere. The bus going to the base wouldn't be there till 7:30 in the morning. So we had to spend the night there. No, we thought we could, but there's no such thing as spending the night there. And the guy that was there at the counter told us that we had to go outside, that we couldn't stay there. There was 5 of us, all Mexican descent. None of us ever been anywhere. You know?
Were you all in uniform?
Yeah.
So there was no doubt in that man's mind that you were servicemen?
None whatsoever. And so anyway, we went outside, and up the road there, it said that it was a cafe open 24 hours. So we walked down there, and needless to say, we had our duffel bags, and we were in uniform. So we got in the cafe there and took a table, and we threw our duffel bags up against the wall and sat down. Well, we never got any service. And the lady that was taking care of us didn't even come and give us a glass of water or nothing.
So it was kind of subtle. It wasn't like get out, but they basically, without saying, let you know that, hey, you're not welcome here.
So after sitting there for quite a while, I was the one that got up and went and asked them if we could have service. And the lady, you know, standing behind the counter, she turned around and looked at the guy in the kitchen. And the guy shook his head, you know. So we knew we weren't going to get any service. And so anyway, she was nice enough to tell us so that if we wanted something to eat, we had to go around the back. And they would hand it out the back door, you know. Well, we didn't get nothing. We didn't buy nothing. So we left, and that was the hotel. So we couldn't get a room. So we couldn't get a room or anything. So we went back to the airport. It was a red brick building. And so we went inside and sat down. You know, the guy couldn't be that mean and have us stay out in the cold there all night. And we went and sat in the bench. And it's some old wooden benches like you see in the churches. And we're sitting there. We threw our duffel bags on the floor there, and we put our feet up and kicked back. Then one of the guys got up to go get a drink of water. It was just a little small porcelain jobbers, you know, where you turn the knob.
Yeah, but it was a public drinking fountain?
Yeah. So he went over to get a drink of water. and he was drinking water when this big, huge, bald-headed cop came with a nightstick, and he beat on the water pipes. And that guy jumped, getting water all over himself, you know. So it scared the hell out of him, you know.
Yeah.
And the cop told him, says, "Boy, can't you read?" There was a sign there that says whites only, you know. What do we know about this, you know? We're from Arizona, California, Colorado. You know, we didn't live that kind of life, you know.
Yeah. Not used to Southern Jim Crow.
No, no, not at all. So, so anyway, he says, "Boy, can't you read?" And then he says, "But I'll read it for you." You know, he says, "It's just whites only, and you don't look white to me." Anyway, so he came back and sat down with us, and then the cop came and he beat on the bench. You know, he beat on the wooden bench, and he says, "Boy, you all have to go outside and wait for your bus out there. The sign says out there that the bus won't be here till 7:30 in the morning. So you go out there and wait." So we had to go outside the building. And then we threw our duffel bags up against the red brick building to sit down and lean back on the building. But no, that was not to be.
So they didn't allow that either.
They didn't allow that either. We had to sit out there by the sign we're waiting for the bus. We had to sit out there, and the sign, it was all gravel. And he told us, says, "If you guys want water, there's a spigot. Get water from the spigot." Well, we couldn't get water from the spigot because it had one of those turn things, you know.
Oh, like a wrench?
A key.
Yeah. So
It had a key, so we couldn't get any water anyway, you know.
You kind of laugh about it now, but at the time, did you?
Well, we were angry. We were scared. We didn't know where we were.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, you're just kids. We're just kids, you know.
Yeah.
We're just young, little, snotty-nosed kids that never been away from home, you know. Yeah, we were scared. The big old sheriff, he was a monster. So anyway, well, you know, we sat there and spend the night out there, you know. Spend the night out there, and the bus came, we got in there, and they took us in, process in. But during our stay there at Fort Rucker, Alabama, you know, there was ramadas right outside the gate. But we couldn't get any fruit. They had beautiful, beautiful fruit, fresh fruit. They had peaches, and man, you just wouldn't believe the size of those peaches. Georgia peaches, you know, they were huge and beautiful. But we couldn't buy any. You know, they just didn't want to sell us anything, you know, nothing. So anyway, we had to get the white boys from our barracks to get us the peaches or whatever we wanted so they wouldn't sell it to us, you know, nothing. We couldn't even get a hamburger or nothing.
What did your comrades that were white think about that? Did that upset them in any way that you weren't allowed, that you were about to go out and risk your life, but you weren't welcome to buy food,
you know,
or weren't welcome to sleep somewhere?
No, you know, those guys, they were good to us, you know, like the guys that were in the barracks with us, you know. Yeah, we didn't have problems with them. They helped us anyway, you know, because we had no choice but to depend on them if we wanted to do anything at all out there, you know.
So, in my experience, hearing stories about the Vietnam War, obviously combat stories, but stories like what you're telling me now, why do you think it's important to tell these types of stories? Or if you do feel it's important?
Because, you know, a lot of those soldiers, even today, you know, it's their first time away from home. You know, they depend on each other, you know, and the public, here you are defending our country. Like in Vietnam, we had orders to go to Vietnam. All the barracks, you should have seen the whole base, you know. This is when they were shipping everybody off to Vietnam. And we didn't even know where it was at.
You couldn't point to it on a map, Pete?
No. You know, we didn't know where Vietnam was at, you know. No. So anyway, the night that they were shipping us out, it was, God help us, every bus that could possibly roll was in there, and they had their head sign. You know, these is going towards Georgia. This is going this way. This is going that way. You know, and a lot of them were going to go to the airports and whatever. So, so we were trying to get west, or even go to Chicago. I wanted to go to Chicago to go see my sisters, and the bus driver was real nice, and he told us, fellas, he says, you guys want to take off your uniforms so you won't be all wrinkled, and you can look neat when you're at the airport. He says, but when we get to rest areas, you guys can't get off. You know, let the white boys get off and get you something if you want something. But you yourself cannot get off the bus, you know. But you're all allowed to take off your uniforms and hang around your skivvies.
Because the heat was so bad that you would mess up your uniform basically if you stayed on the bus like that.
So,
do you think that our country runs the risk of repeating some of its mistakes, like treating its soldiers that are of different nationalities in different ways if we don't remind ourselves of these things?
yeah, it happens. I don't think it's over with. I think it happens all the time, you know.
Thank you, Pete, for sharing your story, and sincerely, I thank you for your service.
Thank you.
That is all for this episode of PTK Pulse. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our special guest. As this is for our research project, please help us out by leaving a comment below mentioning what you liked about this episode, things we could improve on, and what else you'd like to hear from in the future episodes. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Alpha Theta Omicron for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. And stay tuned for our next episode where we'll keep the storytelling going. Thank you for listening.